All right, I think most everybody's here, so we'll go ahead and get started. We're going to cover chapter 17 today. I gave back your hypothetical case study number 2. It has 40 points on there and the wrong date, but it's worth 50. Check it out before you get done in here. A few of you, because we are coming down to the end stretch of the semester, if you had something on there that I wanted to talk to you about, it's not necessarily that you did terribly bad or anything like that, but on these goals and objectives, like I said, I don't want you to leave this course without understanding the proper by the book way to write rules and objectives. So if I have on your paper somewhere, see me after class when we get done, and there's several people, so not calling anybody out or anything like that, there's several that I want to talk to individually. So I'm going to try to get through this chapter and get us done in time for me to let everybody go and then talk to the ones individually at the end and just kind of clarify anything that was confusing to anybody. So everybody did better as a whole on this one than they did on the first one, as I would have hoped for and expected. So that was a good thing. So let's share the screen. And actually we'll go to, let's talk about the paper first. Nice of you to join us. Thank you. All right. Just as a reminder, I went ahead and put this up here. I sent it out to you guys. I did change the initial date on this. I think it was the 11th before. I think I changed it to the 15th, if I'm not mistaken. But what this is, we were supposed to do that group project as a class. And rather than doing that, call that another COVID mess up, you never really know what the university is going to let us do as far as gathering and things like that. So we just kind of scrapped it. Instead of doing that, we're going to do this paper, which is not a group effort. It's an individual thing, and it's something that is, it's current right now, and I want you to think about it, and you can do a little research on it, do some thinking. I give you some specific questions on here, and it's about, COVID and the effect that it's having on recreation therapy. And try to keep your paper kind of toward the recreation therapy side, because you could easily branch out into other forms of healthcare and things too. But anyway, that's just try to keep it toward recreation therapy. I think there's enough information there. If you read the instructions, you'll be in good shape. So just wanted to show that as a reminder for this paper, and remind you that we're doing that instead of the group project. So we're going to stop share here and share to the PowerPoint. And we're going to run through chapter 17 today. I don't believe that worked. I don't think I clicked on the right one. Okay, so I told the few that were in here kind of early what we're going to do the rest of the way in. We have just enough classes to finish up the book, basically. So we're going to try to cover one chapter per class. And then the final is going to be a very similar test to what you've seen already. It's going to be online. It's going to be through Blackboard. It's going to be like the last one. You can use notes, book, everything at your disposal. So, and I will look at it again like I have in the past and make adjustments accordingly. So just know that going into the final. Several people did really well on test 2, so it's not possible to be done. So we're going to try to run through these, get them done. Again, for the couple that came in later, if I wrote on your case study, if you got your case study back, to see me after class, I'm going to try to finish up in time to talk to the few that I wrote that on there. If it's not on there, don't worry about it unless you have a specific question. So chapter 17, it's all about stress management. And how many of us in here deal with stress management? I should say pretty much every hand. Yeah. I had both mine up all day today because every time I would start something, somebody would knock on my door, or I would get a phone call or email or a question about an internship, and my plate was pretty full. So we all have to learn our own ways to cope and to deal with stress. And as you know, if someone is going to be receiving recreation therapy, they've got some sort of need that is going to, in most cases, add a little bit of stress to their life. You know, whether it's an emotional situation that they are looking for recreation therapy for, or physical ailment, whatever it may be, it's going to add to their stress. So we need to know how to not only, you know, we can learn and use some of these things on ourselves as well when we're trying to deal with everyday stressors, but we need to know how to help our patients to deal with stress and in the proper way, because a lot of times what you'll see is, you know, like I've talked about, Timmy doesn't get his way, Timmy flips the table. That's not an appropriate stress reaction, you know, so we got to learn kind of ways to help people with that. So we're going to go over stress management. So there's some definitions on here, and these will probably be helpful, like say for the test. I would say this is kind of things that you see on some of these tests, so this is a good slide. Stress, non-specific response of the body to any demands made upon it. What are some examples of stress demands? Like, what are some things that would cause stress? Excessive schoolwork, absolutely.
Excessive exercise.
Yep, there you go. That's where I was wanting somebody to go. Excessive exercise. And exercise in itself is stress. That's what you're doing to your body. So if you overdo it to the point of excessive, then absolutely you can harm yourself with it. What else? Do you guys like running late? Do you hate running late? Do you care? I do. That's like my thing. I'm pretty much, if I'm going to be, if I tell somebody I'm going to be there at 10:30, I'm going to be there at 10:30, unless you might think I'm dead if I'm not on time most of the time, like I am. That is a very stress-inducing thing for me when I see that I'm not going to be on time for something that I'm scheduled for. I don't know why I'm that way, but that's just kind of the way I work. Stressor, anything that causes stress. We all know that. Stress management is the ability to emotionally, cognitively, and physically counteract the efforts of stressors. So remember that stress is not just a mental thing. It's not just like an anxiety. When you think of stress, we're talking about stressing the body as well. Mind-body medicine, that's the effect of thoughts, emotions, expectations, and beliefs on one's health. I've touched on that in here before, and how strong I think the correlation is between the mind and someone's well-being. You know, attitude and healing go hand in hand a lot of times. I've seen it, and I know for a fact the positive attitude and low stress, you know, it's out of my hands type attitude is more effective than Debbie Downer attitude. I've seen it. Distress, bad or harmful stress that the person finds disturbing. So by even having this here, that tells you that all stress isn't necessarily, like I said, it's not all just mental. It can be physical, and some of it is not a negative. I'll give you a small example of that for me as far as stress. I talk about not wanting to be late. I will tell you guys, don't wait till the last minute to get this turned in and then have a problem. You know, when I work the best? In the 23rd hour. Like, I try not to do that, and I try not to be there. But I find when it comes down to crunch time, I actually, like I can zone in and I get stuff done at the end. So that's a stress that I induce upon myself that I've actually seen that works for me. That's not really a bad stress to me. It's a motivating stress to me. So there's a lot of different types of stress. Eustress, that's a good stress that the person finds enjoyable, motivating, or inspiring, not being considered a threat by the individual. That's kind of along the lines of what I was talking about. I put myself in that position because I kind of know that's how I work the best on a lot of situations. Neustress, that is stimuli that have no consequence to the individual, such as an earthquake in a remote country unknown to the person. It's very neutral. It's not going to cause unless you have a tie there of some sort, when you don't know about it, it's not going to cause you stress. Some more acute stress, and this is just the term you need to know. Acute is quickly surfacing and disappearing stress, such as, say, a near accident in a vehicle. How many of you guys have had that situation and you're like, how do you feel after? Yeah, like you need to catch your breath. You might be shaky, jittery, dizzy. That's that fight or flight response we get that comes from that, severe acute stress usually. Acute is something that is short term for the most part. That's what you need to tie in with the word acute. So with stress, it's going to come in quickly and disappear relatively quickly. Chronic stress, that stimuli lingers for a prolonged period of time. It can be days, weeks, months, years. Like if you have a commute in heavy traffic that it talks about that stresses you out. You don't like it, but it's chronic. It's not going anywhere. You have to do it every day. That becomes a chronic stress. Homeostasis, that's what you want your body to be in. Regulation of a limited number of vital physiological systems that need to remain relatively constant. That's where your homeostasis is, where you want your body to be. You want your blood pressure to be in that good range. You want your blood sugar to be in that good range. You want your heart rate to be appropriate. All of those things. Allostasis is the process of achieving homeostasis. And your allostatic load, again, I know this is a lot of just definitions. This is good information. And a lot of things you can, I like the prefixes and suffixes and things like that. Like you need to know what acute and chronic, the difference, and you can take that elsewhere with you. But allostatic load, consequences of sustained activation of primary regulatory systems serving allostasis are helping you to get back to your normal homeostasis over time lead to a cumulative burden on your bodily systems that can sometimes contribute to disease. Okay, they say that what can stress cause? Prolonged stress cause in people. There's one, faster aging, yes. There's one thing particular I'm thinking of. Heart problems through,
Decreased immunity.
Yes, it does bring down your immunity for sure. What about digestive? What do people get when they worry all the time? Ulcers. You ever heard of people getting ulcers from, they'll say you worried till you got an ulcer. You start building, it's this stomach acid just overrunning from, you've put an allostatic load on yourself that's more than you can handle, and it takes a toll on your body. That's kind of what's going on in that situation. All right, some more. Resilience. Capacity to make early, frequent, and effective adjustments to the stressor that return the person to homeostasis. That's basically saying you getting better at turning stress around if it's a negative stress, getting back to your normal body function, normal pulse rate, normal breathing pattern, things like that. Problem-focused strategies, they directly address the problem that's causing the stress through seeking out information, making a plan, working through steps to manage or resolve the conflict. That's where we can have a role as a recreation therapist, is that we can help people to look at what causes them stress and what is, a consistent problem for them. And we can help them by helping them seek out information, make a plan, work through steps to manage or resolve it. That's, we're not counselors, but in this sort of situation, we really kind of are. We're serving in that role as we're helping them, educate them in ways that they can help get better as far as handling their stress. Emotion-focused strategies focus on dealing with emotional distress by engaging from emotions, disengaging from emotions, seeking emotional support, and venting. Some people, how many of y'all, that's probably your number one way of getting rid of stress? You want to vent. I figured there would be several. How many don't want to talk to anybody when you're stressed? We got a mixture, but yes, some people, when they have that high emotion, they just want to get it out. They want to say what's going on. I'm one of those that holds it in, like most of the time. I'm not one that's going to just. Yeah, it depends on the situation. It depends on who you're around and whether you feel comfortable sharing.
I know, like, say if I got hurt, like I tripped a bell or something, I don't want to talk about it. I just want to move on.
Yeah.
But if I had a stressful day, like if I'm at home, then yeah, I'll vent about it.
Right. Yeah. If there's something particular that happened that's worth talking about, you want to get that out. Yeah, I understand. Approach strategies, tackling the problem by seeking emotional support, making plans for resolution, and seeking information. Okay, that's kind of all we talked about that in the problem-focused strategies. This one pulls up emotional support, and that's something that we can give as recreation therapists, that we can talk to the family about their loved one needing. Everyone needs that support system when they have a stressor in their life that's going on. Avoidance strategies, avoiding the problem or one's reaction to it by withdrawal, denial, or disengagement. I think all of us are inclined to do this to a certain degree if it's within your control. Now, what we have to realize is that sometimes we don't, I don't like going to Walmart. Walmart stresses me out. Walmart makes me anxious.
How do you like Kroger?
Better.
Oh, it's so much better.
Yeah. I like Kroger better than Walmart. I don't get too stressed out in there.
I like Kroger just because it's close to my house.
Years ago, I had a panic attack in a Walmart, just out of the blue, like a buggy full of crap. Ended up sitting on the floor, like thinking I was going to die in Walmart. You couldn't get me in Walmart for about a year because to me, Walmart is now evil. Walmart is going to kill me. Is that sensible? Nope. I needed someone to have a support system for me and say, look, you crazy. Well, not exactly like that, but basically, it had nothing to do with where I was. I think that would have happened wherever, but since I was there, it became a negative place. So I started to try an avoidance strategy like, nope, I'm not going. You can go shopping. I'll sit in the car. I was avoiding it by withdrawal and disengagement. So that's a strategy that happens. Yes.
So would you say like going to the gym to relieve stress would be an avoidance strategy? Or which strategy would be like physical exercise or doing another task, reading a book, cleaning your house, just not thinking about your stress?
I think that would fall more under like the approach strategies or even the problem-focused strategies where you make a plan for like a contingency plan for when you have stress, what should I do? Okay. Yes, you are trying to get rid of it through exercise. So if you're leaving a stressful event or situation and going to exercise instead, it kind of would fall under avoidance strategies. But if that is just your mechanism to get rid of stress, it would be kind of your problem-focused strategy, I would think. You know, something that you have put into place as, this is what I need to do when I'm stressed.
Right. If you know that you're not stressed in the gym, then that would be a strategy that you can pull from.
Right. Yeah. So that's a very good question, because it kind of blurs the line a little bit. It's kind of in between.
You're
And
not actively thinking about your stressor to like overcome it,
but
you're
you
not
know
stressed
that
anymore.
but you know that when you're there, you're not going to be stressed. So
Right.
you're avoiding situations where you wouldn't. So you're kind of in between those different ones in that particular situation. So I asked about this a minute ago. Impact of stress on individuals. 70 to 80% of all diseases and illnesses in America are related to stress. Is that higher than y'all would have thought? No. It's higher than I would have thought off the top of my head. I would have probably gone 50, maybe, if that. But it's heart disease, gastrointestinal disorders, asthma, you can get complications with asthma from it, diabetes. How do you think diabetes plays in? Yep. People get stressed out, they get a tub of ice cream. You know, you see people making jokes about that, and it's kind of true. If you got this stress and eating is your escape or your distractor.
Would that be an avoidance or a problem-solving strategy?
It's not a problem-solving strategy because it's not appropriate. I would say that was your avoidance. I think you're trying to run from it through that. You're avoiding your stress by pouring yourself into that spoon. Multiple sclerosis, would have never thought of that. Cancer, in a lot of ways, I can say the cancer part would many times tie into the gastrointestinal side, because you get all this stomach acid. Your digestive system is I don't know if any of you guys have been in like prolonged stress situations. You will see changes in your digestive system during that time from the stress. And that's because your body's out of whack on the acid that it's producing to break down your food and such. The common cold, that goes along with what you said about lowering immune system with stress. So our role of trying to help people learn how to deal with stress, reduce stress, is obviously very important. When you look at these numbers, you see why it matters. Plays a part in psychological difficulties such as anxiety, depression, maladaptive or inappropriate behavior patterns, chemical dependencies. You know, we know people that, you know, they look like they're having a good time, but they're probably drinking because they're upset about something that's going on in their life in a lot of cases. Not all cases. Some people just like to drink, and that's okay. But some people are drinking or doing drugs because that's their escape. That's their escape mechanism from stress. When they get drunk, they're not worried about it. When they get high, they're not thinking about that problem that was going on. And then there's lifestyle diseases. Pathology develops over a prolonged period based on actions and choices made by the individual and or society as a whole. And we've seen, you know, think about Mississippi. You talk about lifestyle diseases. We are number one in obesity. Lifestyle. You know, I'd like to say here in our community on the campus, we are fighting that off, and it's a lot less in like the college setting than it is in the, you know, rural areas of Mississippi. You see a lot of obesity, no access to exercise equipment, nobody else is doing it. You know, it's situations like that that play into a lot of it. But that's kind of an example of this lifestyle disease situation. So there's some major categories when you're talking about stressors. Bioecological, gravitational pull. you know, we talk about stress being not just mental, being physical. Gravitational pull is putting a constant amount of, like, you don't think of it, but I'm standing here, I'm stressing right now to stand up. If I totally stopped stressing, I would crumble behind this and then y'all could leave. But I'm not going to do that yet. Solar flares, sunlight, electromagnetic fields, they affect people's biological rhythms. And, you know, they have to do with things like sleep patterns. When you are not getting enough sleep, do you feel more stressed? Do you ever get enough sleep? I don't. I'm not a sleeper. That's why some of y'all have probably sent me emails at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I like immediately email back. They're like, what other instructor is going to do that? Like, I'm pretty much up, so I might as well if I see it come through. But yeah, I would probably be better off if I could train myself to get into a better sleep schedule. But I also like that time, and I call that my de-stressor, my de-stressing period, because I'm at work all day. After work, I usually have to take a kid to Cub Scouts or to soccer practice or something like that. Then we get food and we go home. Then it's that everyday routine where it's like, get food ready for the next day, get everybody's clothes ready. You do, you know, this whole little route, it's the same thing every day. And then it's like, all right, y'all go to bed, because I want everybody to go to bed where I can sit out there and watch ESPN or play a game on my phone or just whatever. Even if I'm grading stuff at 12 o'clock, I'm relaxed and I don't have anybody calling my name. That's my stress relief time, even though it probably in some way stresses me because it throws my body out of whack in this bioecological way. Intrapersonal stressors. I promise I won't have y'all spell that for a quiz or anything. These are everyday stressors that an individual creates through his or her thoughts, emotions, and perceptions. Who does that? A lot of people do that. You know, I saw like a meme today that was like, how big the problem is. And it was like this, the tiniest little book you could see. And it says, how I make it look. And it was this book that was like this tall, and they were flipping the page. You know, it's that you can worry something into a huge, huge, huge deal if you let yourself. Okay, I'll talk bad about my dad some more. And it goes along with this. Man, he was worried about these vaccines. He doesn't know what the long-term effects are on these vaccines. He went and got his first one. Then he was like, I don't know if I want to get the second one. And he stressed and stressed over it. I'm like, well, you already got the first one. Y'all are living in lockdown. You might as well get it. The life you're living right now stinks. So, I mean, you know what I mean? Like, him and my mom are like locked in the house. I'm like, at least go do something. If it kills you in 6 months, at least you got to do something. I didn't say it exactly that way, but you know, that was kind of my point. But he worries about that stuff. Now, he's gotten both shots now, and he's all about watching these videos that you can find on the internet talking about how your T cells are gonna attack your body and kill you, and it's these doctors that are saying it, and he brings that crap on himself all the time, and I won't even talk to him about it anymore. When he says vaccine, I just, nope. And my mom is like, nope. So I come home and he's out talking to the dogs in the yard about vaccines, but you know, because that's about all that will listen to him at this point. But the next one, social influences. We all know about these. Overcrowding, traffic jams, financial insecurity, or violations of human rights. These are all big topics and big things that we deal with every day. You know, a lot of us anyway. Who doesn't like big crowds? Who likes big crowds? Yeah, it's definitely a personal preference. I've found that when I go do things in big crowds, I'm more prone to partake in alcohol because it makes me feel more comfortable in the big crowd. Just saying, that's just a true story, real deal situation right there.
I've noticed that like since the pandemic started, I've started to get more anxious in big crowds. Like it didn't used to be as bad.
Yeah, that too, and the fact of how crazy the world is these days too. Big crowds, you got more potential for some nutcase to do something crazy. Traffic jams, hate them. Financial insecurity. Who loves stressing about paying your bills? That's the worst. It's just, it gets worse from here, guys, I promise.
So that's the motivation.
Hey, I told y'all from the start I'd be real with you guys, so that's real. No, if you're smart, it won't, but if you make bad choices, it can. Let's see here. There's 4 phases of stress. Now, in some of these cases, it's more when you think of like, whoo, somebody yells and you jump. Alarm reaction. That's your initial, that little bolt of adrenaline that you get. Then you have a stage of resistance where you kind of fight off whatever's, you hear about that fight or flight response that we have. Okay. You're in a state of danger. This is a good situation. You have an alarm reaction. Boom, you realize you're in danger. You have a stage of resistance where you're trying to fix whatever's going on to the best of your ability. If you've ever really had one of these situations where you've been really scared, really stressed, or even like depressed, like from something terrible that happened, when you get through with it all, you hit that next stage, that exhaustion stage where your body's just like, you've given that all you have to get through that moment of stress or that stressor. To fight that off, you have an exhaustion stage where your body is recovering, where you can return to your homeostasis or feeling of calmness. All right, there are some interventions that can be done, and in recreation therapy, I've seen some of these. I have never personally used hypnosis in any form or fashion. Has anybody ever been hypnotized? I was just curious. I don't know what to think about hypnosis. I went to something one time. I think it was at a conference. And I don't think hypnosis is meant for like mass numbers of people. I think it's meant for like 2 people, quiet room, full attention, situation like this. But the guy was like supposedly trying to hypnotize like the whole room. And of course, it was never going to work on me because I was sitting there saying, this ain't going to work. He's not hypnotizing me. I wasn't even hardly listening to what he was saying. Like, there's no way he can make me. But it was all some elaborate hoax thing because he had some guy up there clucking like a chicken at the end because he thought he was a chicken, supposedly. And it was funny, but I just wondered if anyone had ever been hypnotized. Now, there's situations where, they use hypnotization to help with stopping smoking, solving crimes. I mean, there are some real uses for it, and I'm very interested in hypnosis as a whole. I'm not discrediting it all the way around. I just think that it probably works if the person is very open to being hypnotized and they're in an environment where they don't have things that are going to be interrupting the process, The bad thing about these mind-body interventions, which are just relaxation, meditation, which makes me think of things like yoga, Pilates, those are a couple things that come to mind right offhand. Guided imagery, that's where I was saying, I think one day in here I was like, I could have you guys all, we could turn the lights off, I could have you close your eyes, and I could say, okay, now I want you to picture your favorite place. All right, and your favorite person is bringing you your favorite food, and you're supposed to all be sitting there closed. Like guided imagery, if you really immerse yourself in it and let yourself do it, it really can help you relax and de-stress. It would be corny as heck for me to be up here trying to do that to y'all, and I'd probably start laughing, and so would y'all, and it probably wouldn't work, but it would be funny. But I have done it before in a couple settings, and it worked okay. I did it at a conference, like a guided imagery thing, and it worked okay. Biofeedback, that's where you're actually looking to see what your body, you're trying to bring down your heart rate, or you're trying to regulate your breathing patterns and things like that. How do you calm yourself down through breathing? Anybody know? Yeah, I mean, deep breaths come to mind. The best way they say is to breathe in through your nose, like slow, and hold it for a minute, and then out, and you blow out just as long as you basically can. And you're doing this very slow, and it's supposed to lower your blood pressure. It's going to increase your blood oxygen levels, things like that, and that can help you to reach that homeostasis that you're looking for. The problem is that these interventions, like we're talking about, are only used by approximately 17% of the population, which I think far more than 17% of the population deals with stress and stressors and could benefit from things like this. So it shows that there's a lot of need out there for people who can provide this sort of training, this sort of practice. The major portion of overall interest in complementary and alternative medicine, CAM it's called. These things like meditation, guided relaxation, guided imagery, hypnosis, those would definitely fall under that alternative medicine category. It's not like, hey, you're stressed out, here's an anti-anxiety med. There's your regular medicine, not your alternative medicine. This is alternative strategies, and I think that these, in many cases, would be far more effective if done on a regular basis than actually going straight to medication and things like that.
So is it kind of like holistic healing?
Yeah, it kind of fits in with holistic healing, where or just overall wellness, you're trying to, herbs and different types of vitamins, and the people that do like essential oils and things like that would fall under this alternative medicine situation too. Some other ways to get rid of stress. Expressive writing. This can be done, it's kind of, you can do this with art also, but these are written passages that document personal events, thoughts, feelings, memories, and perceptions in one's life. I mean, has anybody ever kept a diary? Does anybody still keep a diary? I'm just curious. It's something that I've never done. I think that it's a great idea, and it's a good way to really, do exactly what the word says. Express what you're thinking, what you're feeling. It also gives you the opportunity of something that you can look back on later and relive, what happened. I don't have that. I never had a diary. I'm getting old, so I'm remembering less and less now, so I probably should have done one. But, you know, for it to be truly expressive and to help with the stress, it needs to document personal events, thoughts that went along with them, where you're actually you're talking from the heart when you're writing these things. Feelings you had, memories, and the perceptions you had about what was going on. And what it can do is it can lead to personal insights. It can help people cope with their stressors and improve their health. So obviously coping with your stressors is going to improve health overall. The benefits: disinhibition, confrontation, confronting your stress. Disinhibition is kind of the same thing, facing the things that have been holding you back. It gives a translation of experiences into meaningful language, and it's very, very cost effective. You can buy a notebook at Walmart for 97 cents probably. So that's a good thing. Guided imagery. It is deliberate, purposeful, directed daydreaming through words and phrases designed to evoke rich, multi-sensory fantasy. Which is kind of what I was saying, like I take you to your favorite place. It's going to be a different place for all of you, but if you're zoned in, you would get there if you actually were participating. All right, now we're going up in a hot air balloon, and you look below you, and the cool breeze is blowing on your face, and the people that do this stuff are awesome at it. Most of them. I've seen some really good guided imagery. They use words and phrases, this is important, designed to evoke rich, multi-sensory fantasy. Like they talk about, the warm wind or the cool water on your feet, or, or you're supposed to actually kind of feel these things. And if you're zoned in to that point, what's the word when you're totally involved in a recreation? Flow. When you're flowing with it, then you're going to be just about feeling the water on your toes and the warm wind blowing, And if you think about it, it could be a good distractor. They use it for pain control, provides a sense of self-control and distraction. Some benefits, you see, they've shown that to have a positive impact on immune functioning, reduced perception of pain, improved mood, reduced anxiety symptoms, and reduced depression. So, kind of corny, kind of goofy in a way, but very, very good stuff. Progressive muscle relaxation is another thing that is done to help rid cells of stress. And I'm going to show y'all a little video of this before we quit today. What happens is you systematically contract and relax each muscle group, like one at a time. And like the reason you do the contraction is so you can feel the relaxation. You know what I'm saying? Like if you tense up your muscles and then when you relax them, you really feel them relax. Where if you don't do the contraction first, you already feel like you're relaxed, if that makes sense. The person can sense and feel the differences between their tense muscles and relaxed muscles, and when relaxed, that can counteract the stress. So in some groups, it's going to show reductions in pain, reduction in resting heart rate. I actually think that this word is wrong. I would think that this would be decreased heart rate variability. I would think that because that's a sign of less stress. People that are having a lot of trouble with stress, their heart rate is all over the place. A lot of times, improved exercise tolerance and a reduced state of anxiety and depression. Biofeedback is something else. It gives individuals conscious control over their voluntary but latent bodily functions by alerting them with auditory or visual signals. Latent bodily functions are things that just happen without you knowing they're going on. Are you guys making your heart beat right now? Can you feel it? How many of y'all sitting there right now can feel your heart beating? Some people, like you don't really even, some people can feel every heartbeat. Like I can't right now. I mean, I can tell it's working because I'm still up here talking, but it's, some people have a stronger biofeedback system in their body. Like they're more into, people that can feel their heartbeat every time it beats. They probably have, I would say, a lower pain threshold. They're just more sensitive in general to things that happen to their body. And biofeedback is when you start to understand kind of how to use this and cut off things that are going to be negative, because of you're realizing that when I start feeling this, I need to do something, people that have epilepsy in some cases, what's it called? Aura. There's an aura that you can feel just prior. A lot, some don't have it, some do, but a lot of cases, people know that they're about to have a seizure, and it gives them time to make. That's a good example. That's a biofeedback mechanism in action right there. They have something, they feel it, they're in tune with their body enough to say, oh crap, here we go, and that's a good example of that. Again, back to the breathing, the second portion here. Individual sees their heart rate on the monitor and uses slowed breathing to slow the heart rate. Think about being stressed in just say you ended up having a severe panic attack somewhere. You didn't know what was going on. You got taken to the hospital. You're put on monitors and things, and you're laying there in the bed. They've got you hooked up, and you have someone come in and say, okay, your heart rate's really high right now. I want you to concentrate on taking deep breaths, and I want you to breathe in real slow and deep. Slow that breathing down. And they talk you through it, and you're able to look over and watch your heart rate start dropping down. What's going to happen the next time you get in an anxious situation like that? Are you going to believe in that and the fact that it can work? You've just watched it happen. So that's a great example of how biofeedback can be a positive thing that you can learn, and take forward with them. Benefits of biofeedback: increased exercise tolerance, decreased chronic pain, increased activity, improved heart rate coherence, which is keeping it kind of where you want it to be, and variability. Some people have a hard time getting their heart rate to go up and down. Their heart is kind of just set at a rhythm. Again, my dad, he has trouble with that. He has a hard time getting his heart rate to go up and down. Once he finally gets it up, it wants to stay up. Things like that. Some people don't have as much coherence in the form of heart rate. So, to summarize, stress is pervasive, which means it digs into all of us, and it's cognitive, affective, which has to do with our mood, and physiological components. Chronic stress leads to illnesses like heart disease, obesity, blood pressure, insomnia, depression, alcohol and drug abuse, and chronic pain. Stress is bad, y'all. Stress management interventions include expressive writing, guided imagery, progressive muscle relaxation, biofeedback, some other things as far as recreation tools that I would think of with stress management. Anything where you are distracting someone and getting them into flow is a positive. Art therapy, I think, is really good because it's immersive. Music therapy would be a good choice. Pet therapy, you know, some sort of animal assisted therapy is a good thing. And even if the person is adventurous, although, you know, stress laden sometimes, you know, prone to stress, I think like high adventure sort of activities, you're definitely going to reach that flow point. If you're like jump out of a plane, you're not going to be thinking about something else. You'd have a whole different type of stress at that point, but it wouldn't be for long. And the field of stress management is rich with online, printed, and other resources. So that is this chapter about stress. Now, I'm going to stop the share here. I'm going to share one more time and show y'all a little bit about, gosh, let me get here. I think I'm going to have to back out in a second. Okay, now, back to Zoom, because I don't think, stop share, share again, for the ones who are not here. All right, 5-minute, 53-minute video about progressive muscle relaxation. If we have some extra time, like a short chapter, we may do a guided imagery video. Not me doing it. I think we'll find a good video, and maybe we'll do that like at the end of one class one day. Not at the start, because I don't want y'all sleeping on me the rest of the day, because you know, or living in that la-la land that it takes you to. So anyway, here comes this little video. All right, Tia, tell them.
In the beginning, the claims.
We came in here.
Do you think it has something to do with you sharing the screen?
I don't know. I don't know, but I know it makes me mad. I'll come back to it. Don't pay attention to it right now.
Progressive muscle relaxation.
That's just coming out up here by me, right?
Stress, whether you realize it or not, creates tension in the body.
It very well may have some
Exercise known as
to do with
muscle relaxation
the screen.
involves purposely tensing and relaxing different muscles so you can more easily identify the difference. Just like the first exercise, the end goal here is to feel less stress.
All right. I think I might know how to fix it next time. She's just going to explain this progressive
relaxation.
side.
Stress, whether you realize it or not, creates tension in the body. Patients with rheumatic diseases tend to have a lot of muscle tension, especially when trying to cope with the daily joint stiffness and pain. This next exercise, known as progressive muscle relaxation, involves purposely tensing and relaxing different muscles so you can more easily identify the difference between feeling tense and feeling relaxed. Just like the first exercise, the end goal here is to feel less stressed. Also, it's important to note that you should not engage in any of these exercises if you have pain in different parts of the body or distress or limitation. You should not be in any discomfort while doing these exercises, so please feel free to modify or eliminate any of the strategies as you see fit. Let's practice. Again, find a comfortable place to either sit or lie down. You can begin by taking a few deep, relaxing breaths. Let's begin by bringing attention to your feet. Curl your toes in tightly to feel the tensing muscles of the foot, of both feet. Hold this for a few moments before releasing the tension and relaxing the feet. You notice the difference? Noticing the difference between a tense and relaxed muscle is the purpose of this exercise. Now we're going to repeat this relaxation exercise with different parts of the body. Now, point your feet down, pointing the toes down towards the floor, feeling the tension in your calf muscles. Hold that for a few moments and release. Once again, noticing that change from moments of tension and moments of relaxation. Now, bringing attention to the thigh muscles, point the toes upward toward the ceiling, feeling the tension in the large muscles of the thighs. Hold that for a few moments, and when you're ready, begin to release. Now, bring attention to the buttocks. Tightening the muscles of the buttocks as you sit alive on the floor.
Always bring
Once
attention
again,
to the
holding
buttocks.
this for a few moments and gently relaxing. Bringing attention to the belly, the muscles of the abdomen. And tensing these muscles as if you're bringing your belly button in, pushing your belly button in toward the spine, and holding here for a moment, and gently relaxing. Noticing the back. And here, just gently arching the lower back and seeing if you can feel the tension along the muscles in the back as you arch the back. Hold for a moment or two, and then slowly release. Working our way up to the shoulders, a place where we tend to hold a lot of tension. Bringing your shoulders up towards your ears, squeezing them up, holding them for a moment, and slowly and gently releasing the shoulders. Now focusing on the hands, making the hands into a fist and squeezing tightly. Hold it another moment and slowly release. Now working up to the arms. You can just gently keep the fists if you like and bring the lower arms toward the upper arms. Pulling the forearms up towards the upper arms, tightening the biceps.
Man, I don't want to rip my shirt.
Slowly releasing. And finally, bringing attention to the face and the mouth. Here, we're going to squeeze our eyes tight, holding them shut tight, pursing the lips. Holding for a moment and slowly relaxing. Once you tense and relax all of these muscles, notice how your body feels. Allow yourself to feel totally relaxed as you sit or lie here. You can do this exercise daily. If you have time, you can tense and relax each series of muscles twice for a more extensive relaxation exercise.
All right, since we have our masks on, you can do the facial thing whenever you want, but whenever we have to get rid of those, you might want to be a little more cognizant of where you do the facial thing that she did. I know it's hard to zone in and not get distracted in here, but those things, like, did you notice her voice? She had that voice for that sort of thing. She's the type person that does those guided imagery things too. Like, she's got that voice. What's it called? The new, it's monotone. Yeah, but there's it's very hypnotic sound for sure. What's ASMR? That's it. What exactly is that? Yeah, it's anyway, after doing that, and I mean, could y'all feel kind of what the purpose is? I mean, like if I can just do just like the arms, and then when you relax them, you really do feel the difference. And if you decide to actually involve yourself with it and concentrate on what she's saying and block everything else out, it would probably be pretty relaxing. You know, a little longer session of that would be even better. So I do want to, like I say, find a good guided imagery, and we'll do that at the end of a class one day if we have time. But we're going to try to do, like I say, one chapter per class the rest of the way, and that's how we'll finish up. So thank you guys. If you have a note from me on your paper to see me after everyone kind of clears out, I'm just going to come up here. Y'all come up and talk to me one at a time. I won't take long with each one that has to talk to me.